Regretting You. Summary by Colleen Hoover, prologue. The beginning of a tangled future. Morgan Grant is 17 when she finds herself pregnant with her boyfriend Chris's child. The pregnancy changes everything. Her youthful dreams of college and a spontaneous life vanish. Chris, charming and dependable, proposes. They marry young, moving into adulthood together almost overnight. Morgan's younger sister, Jenny, is also close to Chris. Perhaps too close, though Morgan dismisses any passing worries at the time. Jenny is the free spirit Morgan secretly envies. Morgan convinces herself that sacrificing her dreams for the sake of her family is worth it. She is determined that her child will never have to make the same compromises. Part 1. Mother and Daughter at Odds, Chapter 1. Morgan in the present, 16 years later, Morgan is a devoted but predictable wife and mother. Her life revolves around Chris and their daughter Clara. She keeps everything orderly, the meals, the schedules, the routines. She sees herself as the steady one, while Chris provides warmth and connection, especially with Clara. Morgan's relationship with Clara is strained. Clara sees her mother as overly controlling and unadventurous. Clara is passionate about filmmaking and longs to make her own choices, but Morgan insists on rules, curfews, and boundaries. Morgan's underlying fear is that Clara might repeat her own mistakes. Chapter 2. Clara's viewpoint. Clara adores her father, but feels constantly judged by her mother. She doesn't see Morgan's sacrifices as noble, just restrictive. Her best friend is Lexi, and she harbors a crush on Jonah, a boy she's known for years. Jonah has recently returned to town and now works at the local hospital. There's one problem. Jonah is Jenny's longtime boyfriend, which makes him completely off limits. The accident that changes everything. One ordinary afternoon, Morgan is at home when she hears the news. Chris has been in a car accident. Jonah delivers the devastating truth. Chris died instantly. But what's even more shocking is who was in the car with him. Jenny. Jenny also died in the crash. The police reveal that Jenny was driving Chris's car, far from where she should have been, and that Chris wasn't wearing his seatbelt. The location, circumstances, and secrecy hint at something deeper and darker. Morgan's grief is quickly mixed with suspicion. Why were Chris and Jenny together in the middle of the day? Why didn't either of them tell anyone? Morgan pushes the questions aside, trying to shield Clara from the painful possibilities. Part 2. Secrets and Distance. Morgan and Jonah's unlikely alliance. Jonah, equally devastated, has his own suspicions. He found messages between Chris and Jenny that hinted at a possible affair. Morgan doesn't want to believe it, but the puzzle pieces fit too easily. Jonah insists they keep this from Clara until they know for certain, not wanting to destroy her memories of her father. Morgan and Jonah become reluctant allies in grief. Their conversations, though tense, become a source of understanding. They share the same loss, not just of partners, but of the futures they thought they had. Clara's rebellion. Clara takes her father's death hard. She blames her mother for not letting her skip school to be with Chris the day of the accident, believing that might have changed events. Clara's grief turns into rebellion. She starts skipping school, lying about her whereabouts, and growing closer to Miller Adams, the boy Morgan has explicitly forbidden her to see. Morgan doesn't know the full story between Clara and Miller. Clara insists that Miller understands her pain, unlike her mother. Miller has his own troubled history, including a recent DUI, which fuels Morgan's mistrust. Unraveling the truth, Emails and confirmation, Jonah eventually confronts Morgan with undeniable evidence. Emails between Chris and Jenny making plans to meet, some of which sound romantic. Morgan feels betrayed all over again, not just by her husband, but by her own sister. The betrayal changes how Morgan sees her entire past. She realizes Chris and Jenny had been texting constantly, even during family dinners. The foundation of her marriage feels like it's crumbled into dust. Clara and Miller's growing bond. Despite Morgan's disapproval, Clara and Miller become closer. Miller confides in Clara about his mistakes and his dreams. Clara sees him as someone who doesn't judge her grief. They begin a tentative romance, sharing stolen moments and secrets. When Morgan catches them together, a blow-up ensues. Clara accuses Morgan of hypocrisy, saying she's too focused on control to see what her daughter needs. Morgan, stung, can't explain the truth, that she's protecting Clara from knowing her father's affair. Part 3. Breaking points. The birthday fight. On Clara's birthday, tensions explode. Clara skips her party to be with Miller, leading to a confrontation that ends with Clara shouting that she wishes Morgan had died instead of her dad. Morgan is crushed but hides the truth about Chris and Jenny. Jonah urges Morgan to tell Clara everything, but Morgan fears the damage it would cause. Jonah reveals he, too, once suspected Chris wasn't faithful, even before the accident. Morgan and Jonah's unexpected feelings. Grief pulls Morgan and Jonah together in ways neither anticipated. They share late-night talks, reminisce about the past, and even begin to feel a spark of attraction. Both resist it, feeling guilty and unsure of how Clara would react. The truth comes out. Clara accidentally discovers the affair through overhearing a conversation between Jonah and Morgan. At first, she doesn't want to believe it, but evidence piles up. Clara feels betrayed, not just by her father, but by Morgan for keeping the truth from her. Morgan finally explains her reasoning. She wanted Clara to hold on to the good memories of Chris, at least until the pain wasn't so raw. She didn't want grief to be poisoned with anger. This conversation becomes a turning point. Clara begins to see her mother not as an enemy, but as someone who made impossible choices out of love. Resolution. Mother-daughter healing. Clara apologizes for her harsh words. Morgan admits she should have been more open, even if it hurt. They start talking, really talking, about Chris, Jenny, and their own mistakes. Morgan promises to support Clara's dreams, not stifle them. Miller's redemption. Morgan gives Miller a chance to prove himself. She sees that, despite his past, he genuinely cares for Clara and treats her with respect. Their relationship continues with Morgan's reluctant blessing, a new future. Morgan and Jonah slowly allow themselves to explore their feelings. It's tentative but hopeful. Both acknowledge they can't erase the past, but they can choose what comes next. The novel ends with Morgan and Clara finding a fragile but real peace, bound by love, loss, and a renewed understanding of each other. Themes: family bonds and betrayal. The novel explores how trust can be shattered even in the closest relationships, and how people rebuild after betrayal. Mother-daughter relationships. At its core, the book is about generational misunderstandings and the bridge that empathy can build. Grief and healing. The characters' paths show how grief is deeply personal but also shared. First love and redemption. Clara and Miller's story contrasts with Morgan's past, showing how love can grow from honesty.